Morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
I
Morning.
had to throw a little total eclipse of the heart for my Gen X. Bonnie Tyler passed away, so I gave a little nod to the OGs out there. Rick, you've cranked that song out on the guitar, I'm sure.
Maybe not, but I should
Maybe
consider
not.
it.
All right, so I want to start our call today with an interesting question. So I'm assuming, I don't want to assume, but I'm assuming most people's afternoon yesterday was probably watching some football or soccer, as we might call it. And the commentators were talking about strategy. And this age-old question came up. What wins championships? Is it offense or defense? And what do you think?
I say both.
That's
Okay. I
just
think obviously both is probably the real answer.
Yeah.
Yeah, but um, the there's always been this storyline that, and I don't know how many times I've heard it,
Defense
that
win games.
defense wins championships, right?
That's true.
Um, However, yesterday the commentators said at the beginning of the game that the strategy of Spain was to offense. But the way they explained it made me kind of think about real estate. They said the strategy of Spain is to play offense so much that it keeps the ball out of the other opponent's feet or hands or whatever you want to say. Um, and I started thinking about that as a different strategy than defense wins championships. Meaning, if you play offense so much, you don't give the other team the opportunity to even score. And it took me to real estate for a minute. And if we play offense in real estate so well, meaning we're in contact with our database, we're in relationship with our database, we play speed to lead with any kind of internet lead generation game. Our people don't get picked off by other real estate agents. They don't walk into an open house and go do a deal with another real estate agent. They don't click on Zillow and find another real estate agent that helps them buy the house. I can't tell you how many times in my 27 years in real estate, a real estate agent had the next door neighbor's house get listed by with a different agent. Well, they weren't playing offense, right? I don't know. What do you think of this conversation? It's burned in my mind since the game yesterday. What do you think?
one thing's for sure, you can't win without offense. Defense can keep you in a game and I guess it's a safe play, but I feel like Argentina was just solely relying on defense. At one point I thought they might be hoping to get to a penalty kick, where
I
they
think that was
a
their
shootout
strategy, right?
where they might have a shot because if you look at the stats, I think it was Spain that had 20 shots on goal to zero. So at the end of the day, defense can make it feel like you're winning when you're probably slowly losing.
That's a good point. Somebody else, what are your thoughts on this whole conversation?
Say offense keeps you in front of the ball instead of behind the ball. I mean, I know you're behind the ball when you're playing, but I
Yeah.
always tell my clients I'd rather play offense than defense because you're anticipating, you're doing things so you can be in that moment instead of reacting to what has already happened. So I'm an offense type of person.
Well,
I
when you're
like
on
it.
offense, they can't score. They're not in a position. The ball's not in front of the goal or near the goal. So I think your point's really valid.
Yeah. I mean, and in real estate, Mika, if I have the listing, nobody else can list it. If I have the buyer rep, nobody else can sell them a house. I'm playing offense because I'm going aggressively or offensively after the clients and and solidifying that agency relationship, right?
Yeah, if I have the mind share, if I'm proactive, someone else can't swoop in and steal my people. Same thing.
Anyway, I thought it was an interesting thought after yesterday's game. Any other comments before we move on? I'm
Excited.
overwhelmed.
Yeah,
All right, done.
excited for real football. Let's go.
Oh,
Oh,
throwing
somebody's
down the gauntlet.
offended.
All right,
Where you
Fulton County.
take a hit with pride. Sorry, I had to say it.
Active status change, Fulton County. 521. Hang on, I got to put on the readers. 521 active status changes last 7 days. Certainly a little bit dip in Fulton County from the week before, but it kind of looks like Fulton County's bouncing all over the place. There were weeks with 499, 501, then we went up to 680, then down to 573, then down to 521, then up and 39. I mean, I don't even know how to put a trend to that right now, to be honest. It feels like we should be slowing down on listings coming to the market because that's what history tells us happens at this time of year. Um, yet, I don't even have a comment. It's so all over the place. I think 521 is probably a healthy number for July 20th, if that makes sense. 96 went under contract. I'm looking at these numbers and I'm going to make the comment that I've made for a couple weeks now is it's just a little softer, not falling off a cliff, just a little softer. If you look at 96 under contract Fulton County, the week before 103, the week before that 96, those numbers just don't look the same as the numbers 2 months ago of 120, 132, 120, 136, 136. So it's the market's still moving. It's just a little softer today than it was 2 months ago. 215 pending. The week before was 217. Week before that was 233. Same comment, right? Like it's not the same number as 270 or 250 or 279 a couple months ago. It's just a little bit softer. Uh,
All right, Rick, I think it's your turn.
Well, hey, Matt, this is Jeffrey here.
Yeah.
I was going to say what trend we've noticed, and it was a great insight with Cody Gibson the other day at the market update, is a lot of properties are going under contract and then terminating. And the agent is just putting the house back on the market when the reality is we need to be having basically a second listing appointment and market update and strategy session with our sellers prior to going back on the market because a lot of these numbers have changed from even a month prior to when we listed it. So just for everybody on the call, make sure if you're terminating and going back on the market, you're not just throwing it right back up there, that you're having a strategy listing session with your seller before you do it because numbers have changed.
And Jeffrey, that's why you're the man. Back to you, Brett.
We think.
He's on mute. He's on mute. So
Wi-Fi problems. Excuse me. All right. That's Fulton County. Let's jump to DeKalb. DeKalb County, same kind of story. 301 active listing status changes, a little bit down from last week, but up from the week before that. 301 I mean, these numbers are all over the place. It's not like we're looking at a trend here. So how should I feel about 301? Probably good. Not great, but good. On 86, that was a big jump in DeKalb County. Different than Fulton County. 86 in the last 7 days is the largest counties had since May. Pretty good. 136 pending, 148 pending, 136 pending. It's just not the same as the 160 and one a couple ones back. Not falling off a cliff, just softer. Huge number of closings. So Fulton County had a big closing number. DeKalb County has a big closing number, 198 in the last 7 days. I hope that shows up in all your pockets. But I mean, that's strong for closings. Let's look at Cobb. 338 active listing status, same storyline. Like it's bouncing a lot all over the place. 338 feels like a good number in Cobb County. Big number of properties that went under contract in the last 7 days in Cobb County, 103. 103, with the exception of 107 in June, is a really big number for 169 the week before, 152 the week for that. Just it's in the 190s, 200 that it was, but it's still healthy. And they had a big closing week. 270 closed out the last 7 days. I don't know what happened in the last 7 days, but all three counties had big closing weeks. And is it just getting into these properties before school starts? Probably. I'm trying to figure out like what's the storyline behind it, right?
Yeah,
I
basically
don't know. What do you,
mid-month.
yeah, mid-month. All right. What do you see in the numbers? What are you feeling in the marketplace?
Hey, it's Ken.
Hey, Ken.
Hey,
And Liberty.
Ken. Yes, I'm driving, so I'm sorry you don't see my face, but look, buyers are out there. They're closing. Homes are going under contract. I mean, my July is great. My August is looking to be great. So, I had another one that went under contract yesterday. So things are happening. So,
I like that.
yeah.
Feels good. Anybody else? What are you feeling out there in the marketplace? You want me to go back to Bonnie Tyler? Put a little energy on the call?
I mean, Brett, these numbers overall these numbers seem encouraging, right? I mean,
I agree.
all the data points and the emotion may not feel that way, but according to Ken, it does. But the data is promising for this time of year. So I don't see any issue with it. I think it's great.
Perfect. All right. Well, we've got quite a few articles. One it said pending Metro Atlanta home sale a new low as buyers remain stymied. They're saying 12-month pending home sales in Metro Atlanta fell to a 13-year low of approximately 1,000 in the month of June. So maybe I'm not crazy in saying there was a softening, right? Like, obviously, I think see it in the numbers. This article's talking about it. The 13-year low gives me a pause. But it's saying while available supply holds steady, increasing cost of living are keeping many prospective buyers on the sidelines. I think that speaks to affordability, right? $1 million home sales reached historic highs with more than 4,100 closings in 12 months. So luxury probably on fire right now, which is interesting, fascinating is what you could say. I think we had a 30-day low market, and this article is just talking about that. But if we go back to our stats, are we coming out of the 30-day lull? That's like, Matt, you're saying this feels optimistic. We may be coming out of a 30-day lull that just kind of punched us in the gut for a minute, right? Um, I don't know. We'll see. We'll keep tracking. That's why we look at it. All right. Another optimistic article is, if you're not aware, inflation's kind of driving our market a little bit. And prior to inflation is the price of oil is driving our market. And in when the Iran conflict started, the price of oil got over $100 a barrel. And when that happened, inflation in the US grew to about 4.2, which is considered high. However, the price of a barrel of oil in the month of May came down to about $78 a barrel, which is sustainable. And I've got to believe that I'm putting the dominoes together here, that inflation, when that price of a barrel of oil came down, so did inflation in the month of June. And I think that's a really good sign for our economics and where we're going, because if inflation stays high, the Federal Reserve is going to be motivated to raise the Federal Reserve rate, which will trickle down potentially into mortgage rates. But I also have been saying, if the oil starts to flow through the Strait of Hormuz, I believe inflation naturally will come down. And I think the Federal Reserve knows that. So they may not actually raise the Federal Reserve rate, which I think's positive for us. And this is a indicator that's saying, hey, if oil starts to flow and the price of oil comes down, inflation naturally will start to come down, which will translate to lower mortgage rates, which will translate to better economy, all that to say. However, if you're paying attention to what's going on globally, there's an escalation that's happening in Iran right now. And Logan on Housing Wire is saying, hey, can the housing market weather Iran conflict 2.0? So he's kind of calling this Iran conflict 2.0 and higher mortgage rates. However, there's this magical number, if you will, 6.64 in mortgage rates, where history says when the rates get higher than 6.64, housing demand tends to slow down. It doesn't mean that it will if rates get higher than 6.64. It's just saying history says it does. Well, if we go pull the mortgage rate today, on Friday close of business, it was 6.63. So we're kind of at that threshold. And I kind of believe the mortgage rates are already priced the current conflicts that we're experiencing. So I don't know. I don't have the crystal ball of what's going to happen to mortgage rates. But I also believe the consumer is very resilient right now to what's going on globally and what's going on with mortgage rates. And just so you know, we're at 6.64 and we just had an all-time high week of properties going under contract. So that speaks to resilience, right? But we don't have the crystal ball. I've attempted in the past to have one, and that didn't go so well. So we'll see as it comes. But I don't know. What are your thoughts? I just wanted to kind of give you a global economic talking point that we don't know what's going to happen, but I do believe the consumer's resilient. And I believe mortgage rates are already kind of priced with the disruption going on globally. And outside of inflation going through the roof, I think we'll be able to weather this storm. That's my take. Anybody else feel different, think different?
Yeah, I agree with you, Brett. I think when that inflation report came out, it was about 50-50 on are we going to have a hike or not, and it was priced in. But after it came out, I think this morning it was like they're predicting 14% chance of a possible rate increase. So that that news definitely helped our cause for keeping rates where they're at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Julie put in the chat that we're seeing more than typical cash purchases right now, which could care less about the mortgage rate, right? So if somebody has cash, they're probably getting a good buy on a property right now, knowing this won't last forever. And they're resilient to not having to deal with the mortgage rates right now.
I have a
And
question.
Yeah.
Does consumer confidence have any impact on the housing market?
Of
Yes.
course.
absolutely.
Okay, so
Um,
then, and my apologies, I'm not sure what consumer confidence is right now, but
Well, I'm glad you asked, Pam, because I have an article
okay.
that says,
Oh, sweet.
all right, consumer sentiment was up in June, but economic optimism still elusive, meaning nobody's got the crystal ball. However, you read it, basically saying it, consumer confidence is lower today than it was a year ago. And it's better in June than it was in May. So there was an improvement in consumer confidence, but it's still down from where it was a year ago. Does
And
that
Brett,
answer your question, Pam? Yeah.
Sure did. Thank
Go
you.
ahead, Ken.
and Brett, my experience is that, the interest rates are not kind of the major decision point of to buy a house or not, because they're moving because they have needs, right? The house grew, they're trapped in, they need to relocate, like, or they need to move up or down. So their decisions are based on their buying needs, and the interest rate is kind of secondary. And I think a lot of buyers are now kind of numb to the uncertainty and global chaos which we live with every day. So they're not waiting anymore. That's my
That's why I think
experience.
that's what I'm
I agree.
using the word resilience, Ken, but that's exactly what I'm saying, right? Like, I think you're spot on. Rick, you were going to say something.
I was.
Yep.
Oh, I thought I heard you.
We could
Okay.
just tell. Yes.
I can.
All right.
I mean, I think a lot of this comes down to face to face, belly to belly, and toe to toe. I mean, every consumer has a different worldview, perspective, and needs, which I think Ken alluded to. The need set, you've got to do a proper needs analysis. And my opinion is focus on experience, lifestyle. You only live once. Timing the market doesn't really work. It's rarely worked anyway. It's almost impossible. And to me, the first question should be, how long do you plan to live there? And can you refinance out if the rate's not as desirable it will be in the future? And ultimately, what's quality of life look like? You know, should you really time a life experience that's good for you and your family when the right house comes along? That's a stronger conversation than, are you reading the headlines and what impact emotionally are you extracting from a headline?
There you go. There's two articles about new construction. And this first article is saying that the June housing starts jumped 19% for new construction, housing starts. Then the second article says housing permits near cycle lows, even as housing starts beat estimates. So I think the new construction segment of our marketplace is still down. However, builders are starting more properties today than they have in the past, which I think is an indication that they believe the market's going to be better in the future. So you got to realize if I'm a builder and I start a property today, let's say I start a property August 1st, my intention is that house is completed and on the market January, February next year. So they're believing that 2027 is going to be a good market, or they wouldn't be popping more inventory on the ground, right? So I do believe builders are smart. I do believe they've gotten caught in bad markets before. Yet they're betting on the future, so should we, if that makes sense. Any other thoughts on that? I mean, we're a pretty heavy new construction market. There's a lot of land in Atlanta. There's a lot of new construction going on. And that inventory's been so low for so long that it's kept our price appreciation going on the resale market. Yet I don't believe the builders are anywhere close to catching up to new construction inventory, but I also am looking for signs of how they're responding to the market. And this is a good sign that they're responding with an increase in new construction starts. Capiche?
Capiche?
All right. Capiche. All right. You probably saw the headlines. Keller Williams acquired this 1,200 agent group, Jason Mitchell Group. So, Jason Mitchell Group, on the surface, is probably one of the largest real estate teams in the country. They do almost 6 billion in volume annually, 12,000 transactions. It's a big organization. But what I wanted you to see is it's actually got a bigger vision around it. And what that vision is this Jason Mitchell guy has all these corporate level relationships that provide leads from Rocket Mortgage, Mr. Cooper, Redfin, Zillow, all these big corporations that do lead generation in the real estate space have pushed all these leads to this group. What he's raising his hand around is I have more leads than I can handle. And I can scale these leads if you, Keller Williams, have a distribution network for me to service the leads. So what Keller Williams is doing, and what I believe is a positive for us specifically in the field and in our future, is they've gotten into business with this guy with the hopes to be able to drive leads down to you, the agent, in the offices. So he's primarily in like the Arizona, the western part of the country. But I do believe that they have intentions of scaling his leads to be able to bring leads to the table for us in the future. And I think that's going to be a really interesting concept, and it could translate to more transactions for us and our agents in the marketplace. What this looks like, I have no idea. I think we will probably start to see some of this in 6 to 9 months. But it hit the headlines. I wanted to make sure you heard me talk about it and tell you kind of the vision behind it behind the scenes. Make sense?
Yeah, it illustrates the reality of what I learned in the early 2000s, having joined Keller Williams the end of 99. In that Gary, I was in his top 100 mastermind for a few years early on, and he would repeatedly remind us that the greatest value we have is transparency and ability to share our best ideas culturally, and then supported by access to the network. And he would over and over say, the network is the greatest resource on the planet, both for, again, ideation as well as opportunity to expand. And this goes back 25 years. And so this is just evidence it's that belief and the culture still exists. And it's opportunity. That's what I would hope you hear is this is who we are and why we are. And it's a beautiful illustration.
There you go. Keith, you got a question?
Yeah, just, for transparency, what is the acquisition? Is it now a bunch of is it a company owned market center or series of market centers or region? Is it, are they merging into multiple regions? And, I don't think we have any company owned market centers, do we?
No. It's a company-owned team, probably at this point, but I don't know that specifically. I believe he acquired this group, Keller Williams acquired this group to overlay into the network of Keller Williams. And to do, I don't think the goal is for that group to go put agents all over the map. I think the goal of that group is to build a lead distribution system. At least that's how it was presented to me.
I think it's bullish. I'm, I like it. I think Cody, the way he presented it was that, what's the guy's name? The
Jason Mitchell Group.
Mitchell Group was joining Keller Williams, and
yeah,
kind of like if Mark Spain came back or something. I don't know. I know he's already
100%.
Thank you.
They want the storyline that we just got in business with one of the largest real estate agents in the country. But I actually think the business strategy behind it is very different.
Yeah, smart.
Got it, guys. That's your update. Happy Monday.
See you guys.
Bye. Go play offense.
Thank you.
Bye.
Tackle.
Bye.